we come before you to praise you, to be fully in your presence, to celebrate life. The life that you have given us, the breath that we take even in this moment. Lord, fill us with your joy. Help us to be in a spirit of enjoyment, a spirit of wonder and awe. Help us to be visibly transformed by your love and by your presence in our lives. Lord, speak to us this morning. Speak to us and lift up our hearts. Raise us into your presence. And do this in spite of me or through me. For this we pray. Amen. We are in our fifth and final week of our celebration of disciplines. And this week happens to be my favorite. Of course, it is the most fun to practice. And that is the discipline of celebration. Over the past few weeks, we have talked about the discipline of prayer. We have talked about gratitude and meditation. We have talked about fellowship. We've talked about study. And now we get to the one that is meant to cover Sunday mornings. The one that is meant to cover each and every day of our lives, having known Christ. And knowing what God has in store. As Christians, we are meant to be a people of joy, a people who are looking to a future with hope, with trust that everything is going to be made wonderful. Everything is going to be made right because of our God. Celebration. Particularly as we celebrate on Sunday mornings and as we praise God week in and week out and lift up our voices to Him, is meant to remind us of who we're meant to be, who we're ultimately going to be when we reach His presence. Celebration and joy are our way of not combating depression and sorrow in our lives, but a way of remembering that those will pass. That at some point, God will call us home in His glory and in His image through His Son. And when we get there, all of the pain and all of the suffering and all the sorrow that we experienced in however many years that we had here on earth, all of that will be made right, will be outweighed by an eternity of His joy and His presence. The discipline of celebration is sometimes hard. Sometimes it is hard to be excited. Sometimes it is hard to have that smile, to be grateful for what God has given us. Sometimes it is hard to trust and to experience that hope for a brighter future. And it is in those moments where we must be disciplined, where we must be able to reach down deep inside of ourselves and find that Christ dwelling within us that can lift us up and bring us back into God's presence. Celebration takes many forms. As we talked about in the children's sermon, it takes the form of parties, it takes the form of singing praise songs, it takes the form of dancing, it takes the form of even just enjoying a good meal or a slice of pie, a cup of coffee, of savoring the goodness that God has built into this creation. When we forget to celebrate, when we forget to enjoy life, when we forget what God has done and what God is doing, and we open ourselves up to all manner of evil, all manner of self-destruction, of influence that from the outside that will tear us down. It is through celebration that we are made stronger in God. We find and live out our joy and our hope in the Lord. In our psalm, we heard all about praising God and all about the various ways of praising God. Praising Him in His greatness, praising Him everywhere that He is, praising Him for the creation, praising Him with instruments, with noise. All of it is a praise that involves us giving and putting our energy into God and not into the things that will drag us down. Celebration is who God intended us to be in the beginning, who He intends us to be even now, and who He is preparing us to be in the years to come, for all of time. This Easter, we will celebrate. We will celebrate the greatness of Christ's victory over sin and death. We will celebrate the fact that we have nothing to fear because Christ is on our side. Next week, we will celebrate Christ coming in to Jerusalem. It is a short-lived celebration, a celebration of the Messiah entering His kingdom as promised, a celebration of what to come. And even though the world made that celebration a short-lived one, God came back from what the world did on Good Friday, and He won on Easter Sunday. And all of the sadness and all of the sorrow that the world threw on the celebration from the Palm Sunday was overthrown and utterly destroyed with Christ's resurrection on Easter. We talk about celebration today as a way of preparing ourselves for the weeks to come, for next Sunday and the celebration of the palms of Christ's entry, and for the even bigger celebration that follows the week after with Christ's victory over death and resurrection. A celebration that is meant to carry on each week following that as we prepare ourselves to go out into the world and to help them celebrate that same Easter resurrection, that same victory over sin and death. May we be a people who practice the discipline of celebration. May we be a people who spend at least a little bit of each day just being joyful for what God has done. May we take a little time to dance or to sing. May we take a little time to just enjoy the moment that we're in. To be thankful for all that God has filled our lives with, our loved ones, our shelter, our food, our clothing, the fact that we have things that we can do, our talents. And may we celebrate Him for each of them.